Hey, good morning. Welcome to Hobby Evolution, episode 1494. Happy Sunday. Look at all the mess I've got behind me. A lot of mess behind me. What's up? Welcome to the weekend. We had a good Janesville Card Show yesterday. We're going to go on eBay Live tonight. I spent about as much money yesterday at the Janesville Card Show as I do at the National. Because I'm not I don't sell. I don't Up until eBay Live, I haven't had a fast sell through. You buy collections in bulk and you just piece them out, $1.75, $2.50, $5 at a time. And so I'm not replenishing my inventory because I have plenty. Well, now I'm going through a lot of cards and I need to replenish my inventory. I want to find inventory that people want on eBay Live. And I think I did a good job of finding that yesterday. So I'll talk about some of my pickups, some of my I was surprised by the amount of sales I did yesterday. And then we had an unfortunate incident. We had a thief, but we sprang to action and we made sure that try to make an example as much as we can. So we were able to get the police involved. So that was it's unfortunate. I'm sick of it, and I'm sick and tired of it. So so good, bad, and ugly, but mostly good at yesterday's card show. I came home and I was what I should have done, but I needed a break. I needed just some downtime. And usually after card shows, I need downtime. I'm not used to being around people. You know, you work alone in your basement all day, and it's just it's stimulation overload when you go out to events, card shows. So usually I get home and I wind down. And that's why when I go to the National, I have such stimulation overload. I need to just go back at the end of the day and go to the hotel and just unwind because I'm going to do it again the next day. So usually I come home and just I'll go through the cards that I picked up and have a beer or two and call it a night. So last night I grabbed some Michelob Ultras on the way home and I had intended on just, sit on the couch looking through the cards that I bought. And it was such a beautiful night. I'm like, oh, I'm going to go sit outside. I'm going to go sit on the deck. So I went out, sat on the deck, and I'm looking out at the pond. I'm like, I should go. And I bought some bait last week. I'm like, you know what? It's a beautiful summer night. I'm drinking. I might as well sit by the pond instead of sitting up here on the deck. So I went down to the pond, caught some bluegills. I noticed what I've noticed about our pond this year, and I don't know if it's because it's much lower. We haven't had much rain. I don't know if that's the case. I don't know if there's like a disease that has killed off fish or if they've been just fished out. There's a lot of people fishing in the pond. But I've noticed a lot less fish in the pond this year. And last year, when I was prepping the garden last year, I was pulling out, dew worms and is that what you call is that just a Midwest thing? We called them dew worms. Earthworms. I don't know. I'm curious. Is dew worms just a regional thing? Or is that just the name? I don't know. Anyway. So last year, when I was prepping the garden, I'd take the dew worms, earthworms, the worms that were in the garden. And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to take these down to the pond and throw them in for the fishies. And the fish were just like they right up there, and I'd throw one in, and it was almost like a koi pond, like the minnows and the bluegill just like attacked these worms. And I did that this year, and I just found a couple. But I went down to the pond and I threw a worm in. Crickets, nothing. I'm like, man, where'd all the fish go? And so I go down, every once in a while. If I go outside, I'll go out and I'll walk down by the pond and just kind of so a lot of people have never heard of dew worms. Maybe it's just maybe it was an Anawan thing. We call them dew worms. I don't know. I'm gonna ask Chat GPT, what is a dew worm? What is a dew worm? And so a dew worm, where I grew up, is just an earthworm. I'm sure somebody's grandma somewhere 100 years ago came up with it. A dew worm is a common name for a large earthworm, typically Lumbricus terrestris, also known as the night crawler. These worms are often seen on the surface of the ground at night or early morning, especially when the grass is wet with dew, hence the name. Large size, often 6 to 8 inches long or more. Common in gardens and lawns, especially in moist soil. Valued as fishing bait because of their size and movement. Beneficial for soil, they help aerate the soil and break down organic matter. So if you're fishing or gardening, dew worms are your friends. So there you go. So I guess at least ChatGPT knew. So I went down and I grabbed my bait, my bamboo pole, my chair, and my beer. I sat down by the pond, and they were biting. Initially, they weren't. It was because last year, if I threw the pole in, it was like immediately fish were biting. It took a little time, but eventually the fish were biting. And the bluegill, and they're a lot smaller than what I was catching last year. Now, I was catching small bluegill last year, but this year's fish, the pond, the water level is way down because we haven't had much rain. The fish population appears to be down. I'd like to get like a real fishing pole and cast out into the middle just to see what is out there. I know there's catfish in there and other fish, but I'm casting into very shallow waters, so I'm only going to get the dumb bluegill. So and it's just catch and release. So that's what I did last night. Had a couple beers down by the pond, had the tunes on, had my phone, chatting, a little chit chat, and it was a good, relaxing night after a long week and a long day at the Janesville Card Show. So we did some buying, I did some selling, and we caught a thief in action at the Janesville Card Show yesterday. So we'll talk about that. Before we get to the chat, let me tell you, tonight, eBay Live is going to be popping. It's Sunday singles, and I've got about 100 slabs. Slabs like this. In fact, during my eBay Live on Friday, my delivery arrived. Shit, I've got to take these all out of... I got to replace the team bags, but I'm buying like cheap slab, Nick Senzel, Heritage Action in a PSA 9. I got a Steve Young rookie card in a PSA 6, getting a lot of reflection. I got Acuna sells really well, PSA 8. So this is the type of stuff. After I opened this box, I'm like, this probably is going to be a loss, but I think this might be a good one. A PSA 8 Donruss, the rookies, Barry Bonds. There was some vintage. I'm going to see how the vintage does. This is a 66 Topps Frank Quilici, a PSA 4. We'll see how those vintage slabs do. A Rhino 86 and a 7. That's a really tough grade. Cal Ripken Jr. rookie and a 7 from SGC. A Jordan and a 6 from PSA. And that's just, I think I ordered like 75. I think I got 75. I did sell a couple on eBay Live Friday. And then I picked up, I didn't buy too many slabs yesterday. I bought about a dozen plus two, maybe about 15. I'm trying to think if I bought any other. I think about 15 slabs yesterday. It was actually the slabs that I bought. Most of the slabs that I bought from Alan, one of the dealers at the show, he had come up to me at the end of the show and he's like, "Hey, do you want to buy my dollar boxes?" And I'm like, "Let's go look." And so and he was really underselling it. he was really underselling it. And he's like, they've been pretty cherry picked. They've been picked through. So I'll give you a good deal. I'm like, okay, so what are we walking into? There was a couple of Cunyas, a couple of Otanis, but a lot of like modern stuff that I just can't move. And he knew that, and he knew, and he was giving me a good deal on it, but I'd already spent a ton of money. I'd bought a lot of stuff, and if I was doing what I was previously doing, listing as buy it nows, I probably would have, yep, I'll do it. Let's buy it. But with what I'm selling now, like I need to avoid bulk at all costs, with the exception of Goodwill pallets. So, but you know, dollar box and quarter box closeouts, I'm not going to be buying those anytime soon. But I'm looking at his table and he's got some cheap slabs. And I'm like, I'm going to pass on your dollar boxes, but I think you've got other stuff that I will buy. And so, and he gave me a good deal, and he had great prices on this stuff. And, you know, and I kind of have an idea of what I can sell these for on eBay Live. So, little arbitrage there. So I'll talk more about that. Let's go to the chat, say hello, and then we'll talk about more about yesterday's Janesville Card Show. Todd is with us. What's going on? Good morning. Gem City's in the house. Good morning, you protector of justice. It's really in hindsight, I probably made a poor decision. In hindsight, I probably made a poor decision, and I'll lay that out for you. But at the end of the day, it's like, now I understand how like bad shit can happen. Like you replay what happened, and like you read stories and you read like news stories, and you question, if you're sitting in front of your computer just minding your own business like a Sunday morning right now, and you hear a story about somebody being killed, and they're like, well, why would that person do that? Well, in the flash brief moment, and all of a sudden all of these thoughts are racing through your head, and you're like, you're just fucking sick and tired of shit, and you take action, that's when bad shit can happen. And so in the moment, I'm like, God, fuck it. I'm getting sick and tired of this shit. And you don't think about some of the bad things. And something happened during this whole play out of the theft incident that really got me thinking. One wrong step and this could have been a disaster, like a, really bad. So I'll share the story of what happened yesterday at the show. Dan says 9A is too late to start. I apologize. I will do better. I needed some sleep. Some of us live on the other side of the world. Dan offered $20 for a Burley auto and was declined. Won it for $10 is the only bid. I better get it. So let me tell you about shit like that. I love shit like that from a buying standpoint. Here's the bad side of eBay Live. I had somebody bought $240 worth of auctions on, I think, Wednesday night. So last night it's like, okay, I really need to get, I'm going to get some of this shit shipped today. Another round of auctions this week. I want to get everybody paid up. It's been 4 days, and I guess it's only been 2 business days though. And it's like $240 cancellation request. He ran into a financial emergency. Well, so did I, and I need my money. That's the downside. Now there's a new wave of automatic payments, but like I was told, it's like 1% of the buyers are in this. So like it's a very small portion of buyers, and it's like, how can we stop? Because that's a real pain in the ass. Like up until this is the biggest. I've had a couple like $75 to $100 orders canceled or not paid for. And I decline all cancellation requests. Like I'm kind of like thieves at card shows. I'm fucking sick of it. So no, you're not. No, you're done. And when you don't pay, you're just going to get blocked. There's no more two or more. It's one non-payment, you're done. Because I'm fed up with it. Now, at the same token, somebody out there is saying, that's why I don't sell on eBay. It's so worth it. And if you've watched any of the lives, you understand. A $240 sale is a blip on the eBay live radar. For me as a seller, which who would have thought, 2 months ago, I would have been like, no way. Up until, again, I've had a couple $75 to $100 non-payments. The Steph Curry that sold for $70 the other night, that's going to be a non-payment because that was an instant cancellation, not almost instant cancellation request, which I declined. It's just going to wait out the days. eBay's going to cancel it for non-payment. They're going to get a strike. So fortunately for this person, and I don't know how this, I hope he gets a non-payment because he ordered like 30 cards, 40 cards. So hopefully he gets a non-payment strike for all of them individually. Because that's some bullshit. So that is a downside, but again, it's still worth it. In the grand scheme of, okay, $240 compared to what you do, it's like still worth it. Still worth it. No, I understand it's a headache. I'll be the first in line to bitch about it. I'm bitching about it right now. Still worth it. Still gonna bitch about it, but still worth auctions and all that. Where are we at? Philly Joe, good morning. Gem City, what's up? Live streaming fishing would get you a lot of views. You can combine the hobbies. Yeah, I don't think I'll be doing that. Because I am not a fisherman. I just like to go down to the pond, drink a couple beers, music playing, catch some dumb bluegill that bite anything. You could put a freaking rock on a hook. I don't think you could do that, but they'd bite a rock. Bluegill are just dumb. That dude from Duryea, good morning. What's up? Happy Father's Day. I forget about Father. Like I totally like Mother's Day because my mom's still with us. My dad no longer with us, and my dad's been gone for almost 10 years now. So it's one of those days that I just my father-in-law also passed away 7 or 8 years ago. So it's one of those things with like in our house, like we don't even. It's not even a thought because our dads are gone, and I always forget that when Father's Day comes around. So happy Father's Day to those dads out there. Dan says he's never heard of the dew worms, but I never fish, but no earthworms. Andy Max in the house. Good morning. I just want one person to be like, yeah, we call them dew worms. Maybe it's like an old timey thing. Because I probably got it from my dad, and my dad was like older than most of my friends' dads. So my dad said things like picture shows and eaten places. So dew worm could have been classified in that same like old timey, you're going to the picture show? Nope, got to stay home and look for dew worms. Max has never heard of a dew worm. Myrtle says worms or night crawlers. Cooter's here and he says he's never heard of dew worms. Max says earthworm crawlers, yes. I thought at least one person in here would have known what a dew worm was. Philly Joe says, what did Ernie get you for Father's Day? Or is he just chewing up cards? Well, he woke me up at 5 a.m. to go potty. But he was a good boy. He got groomed. So Dogtopia is now doing grooming, which is so awesome. And they did a really good job. Like they did a better job than the other places we went to. So I'm so happy. We don't have to drop him off at a strange place to get groomed because he obviously hates it, hates getting groomed and hates going to a strange place. So he's familiar with Dogtopia. I'm sure he hated the grooming process, but at least when we went to drop him off, he's going to go play with puppies. And then the groomer comes and gets him and like, all right, hey, where are we going? Field trip. Oh shit, I'm getting groomed. Gem City says dew worms makes sense, but never heard of them. Any cooters in your pond? I don't think. I got frogs. But no, I don't think we have any cooters. Are there any bass in this pond? I think so. I think there are bass, bluegill, probably crappie. There's catfish. That's probably about it. I don't know what else would be. I don't know anything about fish. So, but I do know bluegill, bass, and catfish. And I think crappie, they're like a Midwest staple. They're in every body of water too. Jody, what's going on? Red Light 34, what's going on? How was the show? Good show. Really good show. Gold morning, says Donnie. Dan says, I've been watching season 1 of Dark from Netflix. Good so far. Florida baseball card dude, he's here. Good morning. Cooter says, the slabs are your Costco chickens. People come for the slabs. And it's crazy how many people like, you got any slabs? It's like crack. It's like, where's the slabs? Ziggy, what's going on? Happy Father's Day to all the goal scorers. Billy Joe says, are you setting auction at different than $1? No, everything starts at $1. Everything starts at $1. The only time I think I would start something at more than $1 is if I ever, which I don't plan on it, but if I ever spent a significant amount of money on a card. And I don't know, like say $100. Like maybe I would start the bidding at 25 or 40. I don't know. But what I buy with what I spend per item, I'm comfortable setting it at $1. And I'm pretty confident if I do take a loss, and I'm sure I took a lot. The slabs that I bought 2 weeks ago, there were a couple that I took a loss on, like from an individual, like I paid $20 for this. It sold for $18, but there were some that I paid $20 and made $50. So, and then as a whole, I did really well. And I don't care what I do on an individual basis, as long as the whole is greater than the whole is greater than the sum of the parts, or is that the same thing? I don't know, but I don't care individually. If I take a loss on 2 cards, if I list 3 cards and I take a loss on 2 of those, as long as I make a profit, I don't care. So in most of my auctions all of my auctions have started at $1. Now, if I were ever to market my trout, that's not going to start at $1. I would probably start that at something like 5,000, because I want legitimate bid. Like I want somebody legitimate, not just, I'd pay $100 for it. It gets bid up to 100, and then and who knows, and it might undersell for whatever. But something like that, I would set a different starting bid price. But with what I buy and what I list, $1 starting bid, I'm very comfortable with. Maybe if I do like a lot, I don't know. Maybe my progressives, like if I put like a decent slab on a progressive, maybe I start a progressive at $10. That's a thought. So that's a good question, because it does make me think. It's like, oh, that's a good idea. Like if I did a progressive lot, I started off with a $20 slab. Instead of starting at $1, I started at $10, because usually the progressives go for about $1 a card. So the progressives are a really good deal. It's a good deal for me because a lot of the stuff in the progressives is part of like bulk. So like my cost basis is really small. Yeah, there's a couple cards that might get thrown in that I've got tied up $20 in or $10 in. So even with that, it's like, I think I'm happy with $100 sale, and somebody's happy getting $300 worth of cards for $100. So I think it all works out. Christian, good morning. Philly Joe says, for the slabs, good morning, Uncle Rich. TD Sports Cards in the house. He says, good mooning. Red Light says, just made my payment. Don't want to piss you off. LOL. Just kidding. No, I know you're good for it. Like, I don't even think I sent you a payment reminder. It's people I don't know that's like, okay. And especially the longer an unpaid auction goes from people you don't know, that's when it's like, you start like, is this going to get paid? Dan says, did your dad ever fish? Oh yeah. My dad was not a big outdoorsman, but he took me fishing. We were members of a lake that was just outside of Anawan. It was for veterans. It was called the 40 and 8 La Chateau Park. And I don't know if you're familiar with 40 and 8s, but I think it's like a VFW or American Legion, one of the veteran organizations, and they have parks across the country. And it's always been a pretty small footprint of these parks, but we had one in Anawan. So we were members, and it was basically an old coal mining lake. And so we would then, there was a swimming territory, which was just a lake that it's funny when you think about it. It's a giant lake. And what's cool is it like curves all around, and it's wooded, and it's not just a giant lake. It's just kind of this. It's a big. Actually, it's not a big lake. It's probably in the grand scheme of things, probably a small lake in the grand scheme of things. But it was a decent size to us, and so there was a swimming territory, and so they had it roped off, and they'd put like chemicals, for swimming territory, but it wasn't like it was a separate lake. Like, it went into the rest of the lake, and of course the rest of the lake came into the swimming area. There's algae and moss and you're swimming in lake, you smell like lake water. It was very reminiscent to La Chateau Park, the 40 and 8 in Anawan, very reminiscent to Camp Crystal Lake on Friday the 13th. Like, it was like straight out of Friday the 13th. So yeah, we would go fishing there. One of my friends who's probably in jail right now, he's a lot of issues, like mental issues, drugs, and I don't know if drugs, but mainly alcohol. But his parents were caretakers of the lake when they moved in to take over when I was in grade school. I think like 4th grade. And so we would meet halfway, ride our bikes, so I spent a lot of time going through the woods, swimming, boating. We'd go out on the ice, which surprisingly none of us ever fell through. So it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun. But my dad wasn't a big fisherman. But we had poles, and we'd go out, usually it was just to the 40 and 8. Sometimes we'd go, I'm trying to think of where else we went fishing. That's really the only one. Maybe Green River. I'm sure we went to Green River. Probably Rock River. But yeah, he fished, not often. He was more of a hand, like he worked and built stuff. He wasn't a fisher and hunt. He never really hunted, but he fished on occasion. Philly Joe says, very cool. Saw Ernie on a short on his Dog of the Month award. Yeah, Ernie, Dog of the Month at Dogtopia. Dan says, did you ever sell those NBA slabs you picked up a few years ago? Yes. And I'm trying to think back on all of it. I probably broke even. I would say I broke even after like fees and shipping with eBay. I sold a bunch at card shows. I mean, it took me about a year and a half to get rid of them all. A couple sold immediately for a good profit, if you're talking from an individual basis, but the collection as a whole probably break even, which was not good, especially when it takes you a year and a half to break even. It's not a good business model. But yes, I sold every single one of them. In fact, at a Janesville Card Show, and gosh, it might have been the very first Janesville Card Show back in probably 2023. So it might have taken me 2 years to get rid of them all. Because I think I bought those at I bought them at the 2021 National. So the 2023 Janesville Card Show, which I think was 4th of July weekend or Memorial Day weekend, one of those. I had them for $5. I'm like, and I think my cost average on those was around $10, maybe $12. So I had pretty much, and I had sold some for like, I think the biggest sale was like 75. I sold a few for like 50, a bunch for like 20 to 30. So at that point, and I had maybe 15 left. I'm like, I just need to get rid of these, $5 each. And somebody bought them all, like $5 each, and probably did what I'm doing with cheap slabs now. He was probably selling on Whatnot a couple of years ago. And he's like, $5 for slabs. And I mean, I would do it if it's those slabs. If I saw those same slabs in a $5 box today, I would buy them and put them on eBay Live. And maybe they only sell for $10, but if you sell them all to the same person or somebody that's buying other stuff, you don't have to worry. The shipping is paid for. And you just worry about the fee, which, you make a little bit of money. Max says, when guys ask for lots, are you able to change the starting amount? Yes. So I am able to change the starting amount. Usually the lots, the only time that I really have lots that I would change the starting amount is if it's like a progressive, because most of the lots I run are like 10 card lots. And so if it only sells for $1, I mean, it's 10 like Manny Machado base cards, maybe a color and a couple inserts. So if it only sells for $1, it only sells for $1. The only annoying thing is if I sell a slab for like $1, which I don't think has ever happened, but if it were to happen and the buyer only bought one, that was the only thing he bought, it'd be $1.99 payment. And I'm spending almost $5 to ship it. So I've had a couple of those arise where I think there was a plaque, like those marble plaques that you bought back in the 90s. I had one of those that sold for $1, and with 99-cent shipping, guy only bought one. So, I had to pay $4.50 or $4.60 for shipping. And, but again, the grand scheme of it all, you take those most 98% of the time. It's just a made up percent, but roughly 98% of the time when I'm listing stuff, it's somebody's buying multiple, or it's either they bought enough that shipping is paid for, pays for the shipping, or it's going to sell for an amount that I'm comfortable with. That, all right, if I have to pay $2 out of my own pocket for shipping, it sold for $10 more than it's worth, that I would have expected it to sell for. Orlando, good morning. Happy Father's Day. Max says, being able to change the starting amount and sell lots of X player opens up a lot more possibilities than just auctions, but I wouldn't want to run an auction for a lot of a player one guy asked for. And that's kind of I'm kind of strategic. Sometimes it's like there's some psychology behind this, because what I found is sometimes it's a competition for bidders. And if one guy asks for it, it doesn't necessarily mean only one guy wants it. And to another point, sometimes if somebody sees, well, that guy wants a lot of Manny Machado, I want to get it instead of him. And it's almost like a competition. Like, I'm going to buy more than him, or I'm going to buy that. I don't want him. I don't like him for whatever reason because he said something stupid in the chat. I'm going to outbid him. So there's sometimes there's psychology. I had something that I ran dollar starting bid just the other night and it didn't sell. So I listed something else and like, oh, hey, can you rerun that, whatever it was? And I'm like, sure. So I'm just expecting it to sell for $1. That the guy who requested it wants it. All of a sudden, some other guy starts bidding. And it sells for, I think, $3. But it didn't even sell for $1 30 seconds ago. That's the crazy living organism that live selling is. It's not black and white. There's so much gray area. And sometimes people say, oh, I want 49ers. Throw a 49ers lot up there. And the guy who asks for it doesn't even bid on it. So you see that sometimes. And maybe he doesn't bid on it because he wants to get it for $1 because he thinks he's the only one that wants it. And all of a sudden somebody bids $1 and he's like, well, I don't want to pay $2. Or somebody, he's like, oh, I'd pay $2, but I'm not going to pay $3. So sometimes it's just, you got to feel people out, feel the room out. And that's what I enjoy because you never know. You never know what's going to happen. Not even just show to show, but minute to minute, hour to hour. Like Cal Raleigh can go for $10 in the 7 o'clock hour and $1 in the 8 o'clock hour. It can flip. Patrick Mahomes cards in previous auctions, like a minimum $5. They were going for a minimum of $5 for base cards. This week, I'm getting $1 every card. So I was a little more careful. Like if I was still getting $5 on live auction for Patrick Mahomes, I'd be eating him up for $1 in the dollar box. But it's like, well, the last couple auctions, these have been only going for $1. I'm not going to pay $1 for them today. So that's something. And sometimes it's timing. And sometimes maybe they were selling for $5 to $10 and I go load up on a bunch of $1 Patrick Mahomes cards and start throwing them on eBay Live. And now they're only selling for $1 and you can get caught in that way as well. So timing is everything. And sometimes it's nothing. Chris, good morning. Flying to Milwaukee today. Have a safe trip. I hope to see you. I will not have any time to meet up this week. But if you can make it to the Madison Card Show on Saturday, I will definitely love to chat with you. That dude from Duryea says, yesterday at a card sale, I took a $20 chance on a table full of cards and found an Ozzie Smith rookie, nicely centered, which is a rarity for Ozzie Smith rookies. Among some other nice 70s cards. Days like that keep me hunting. That's the thrill of the hunt. 10, 20, 100, sales you go to, you strike out, and then all of a sudden there's that one. And that keeps us going. The one keeps us going. Dan says, did your dad have a work bench? Oh my God. Yes. Yes. So we had my mom lives there still. So my dad built a 3-car garage, but only used 2 stalls. And I think most homes with we have a 3-car garage here. 2 stalls are used by cars. The 3rd stall is used by, not lawnmowers and tools. It's used up by baseball cards. 1 stall is like all baseball cards, which is not, and it, that the boxes continue to grow and my wife doesn't like it. So my dad had a 3-car garage. He eventually built a workshop. So the garage is now a 2-car garage with a workshop. He had a workbench, big old workbench. He built the workbench with the house in the garage, and then built the workshop around the workbench. And it's got a window air conditioning unit in it. It's got a heater in it. He spent a lot of time in his workshop, in his garage, beer fridge, of course. Charlie is here. What's going on? He's listing and shipping and coffee. Oh my. Gem City says, live selling is, as stated before, like fishing. It is. Sometimes they're biting, sometimes they're not. But I love it. I still enjoy it. Much more than fishing. Much, much more than fishing. let's talk about the Janesville Card Show. So first off, I'll talk about the selling. I took, I don't even know how box. I don't know, 30 boxes, 20 boxes, quarter cards. Stuff that I don't know how many shows it's been to. It's been sitting. I haven't done a show probably in 2 months. 25 cents a card. I honestly didn't care how much I sold. I had zero care. If I made nothing yesterday, I didn't care. I was kind of hoping to make $100, just to offset what I was going to spend, because I knew I was going to spend a lot of money. I ended up making $200 on quarter boxes, almost, maybe not quite 200, but damn near close to $200 on the day. I'm like, damn. Now, I think a lot of it came out of the basketball boxes, because at the end of the show, I see a Luka, and there were some Steph Currys that I literally paid $1 each for, and there were 3 of them in my quarter boxes. So now I have even more of them. They were Prism draft pick Steph Curry in his college uniform, and those have been selling really well on eBay Live. Like the Mahomes has in the past sold for upwards of $15 on eBay Live and paid for. So I pulled those. There was a Luka there. I think there were a couple Shaqs. Shaq does well on Live. So I was going through at the end. I'm like, oh shit, there's some good stuff. So I think the baseball has been really cherry picked. The football probably was really cherry picked, but I don't think I had touched basketball. So I was really happy with my sales. I didn't. So I set my table. I bring my own tables and I set up right at the entrance, and I dropped the boxes off, parked my car, went straight to my buddy Craig, and who sets up right next to Max. Went straight to Craig. And he has like $5 boxes, and then he gives me a deal because I buy a bunch. So I was pulling out Cameron Brink rookies, Caitlin Clark, because I've had a ton of people request Caitlin Clark. Normally, and these Caitlin Clarks are probably dollar cards, but I knew I was going to be getting them for $2.50 or $3. Normally, I've passed on them every time, because it's like you can probably get these for $1 in other dollar boxes, because they're like the Caitlin Clark whatever. I think they were mass produced. And so I think that's why they've been in those boxes for so long. But I'm like, I've got so much requests. Like, I know I can get these for less than $5, but I need Caitlin Clark. So picked out a whole bunch of Caitlin Clark. Picked up a ton of football rookies that have been selling fairly well. Again, at the price point of $2.50 to $3 a card, it's going to be slim margins, but I think if I get the right segment in there, I'll be able to make decent money on them. And then there was a couple like cheap slabs. I'm like, oh, this is a 10, maybe even a $20 bill. So I was picked out a bunch of cards from him. And then the promoter, one of the promoters, Mike, came over and he goes, hey, there's new blood in bargain boxes right over here. He might have some good stuff. And I'm like, all right, but I'm finding a bunch of stuff that I need out of Craig's box. I'm like, all right, I'll go check it out. And Craig and I are chatting, and Mike comes back over and he's like, Gene beat you. So Gene's like one of the competitors, like the bargain box guys. And he's like, Gene's already there. He's like, so there must be some good stuff in there. He sees fresh blood. So I'm like, all right, I'm going to go over there. So I go over there and I immediately go. So these are typically the bargain boxes I like to avoid, because he had every denomination set. $1, $2, $3, $4, $5, $6, $7, $8, $9, $10. $1 through $10 increments. He had them. He had colored stickers for each. No color was $1. Yellow was $2. Green was $3. Orange was $4. Blue was $5, etc., etc. And normally those are the boxes I avoid, because if you're going to break down by that, like, you know exactly what you have. And that's a bargain boxer's enemy. You go into these boxes like Jennings Card Shop in Freeport, which I'll get to them. You go in there looking to find somebody that's popped, whether it's a prospect or, something that's popped recently, that he's not going to go through and dig through these boxes. Like, I'm not going to go through and dig through boxes looking for somebody that's popped up recently, like Cal Raleigh. Probably a dozen or more Cal Raleigh rookies in there, although his stuff has kind of slid in the last couple of live sales that I've done. But I'd still buy him for a quarter. So I'm looking through like the 10, and there were some decent stuff in his $5 to $10 that I'm like, this $5 card, I can probably do 15 on eBay Live. So there was a lot of stuff, like there's money to be made here. And then I ended up going down, and I found the sweet spot was, and I didn't even really, I kind of thumbed through like the 5 and 6, the 4 and the 3. I looked at the dollar, and the dollar box was just like not really anything but the $2 box was a sweet spot. And I ended up buying, I think, about 80 cards out of the $2 box. And I mean, there's some really good stuff in the $2 box that I'm going to do really well on. Like some of these cards will probably sell for upwards of $20 on eBay Live. And I don't know if I have them downstairs or not, but I think they are. So I'll go grab those. So I bought those, and then so it's probably 8:30. I dropped my boxes off at 7:30. And then I made my way around I saw Jennings was on the opposite wall. So I'm like, I definitely need to go look through his stuff, because he's got the stuff in his priced as marked boxes. Don Mattingly rookies, Barry Bonds rookies, Mark McGwire rookies, Ken Griffey Jr. rookies. He's got a lot of that stuff that's super liquid, even in a buy it now setting. Like I've done arbitrage from his boxes and made money on buy it now, and I can make even more money in eBay Live. So digging through, and so I went through football first, and I'm finding like Jaden Daniels for $1, rookies for $1, Bo Nix, JJ McCarthy. I'm like, geez, and I've got this giant stack built up. And then I go to basketball. He's got more Jordans. This is where I buy a lot of my Jordans for $1. Like Jordan. I get to the point where I haven't even touched baseball. I haven't even looked at a baseball box. And really, I hadn't bought much. I think I bought a decent amount of baseball from the $2 boxes. Most of Craig's stuff, I don't think hardly any of it was baseball. Most of it was football, basketball. So I'm like, I need some baseball, and I know he's got stuff I'm looking for. The good thing is, it's the stuff that really nobody else is going to buy. Like, because one of the last shows, I bought a stack, like the Black Squirrel, one of my bargain box buddies. He's like, it's been pretty cherry picked. And at the end of the show, I went and I ended up buying like $200 worth of Strawberry, Gooden, Mattingly, Boggs rookies out of these boxes, and did really well on it. So I wasn't in that much of a rush, but I did know if I left the football boxes, those Jaden Daniels would get pulled. Some of those hot rookies would get pulled. So I get to the point where it's like it's like 9:00 now, and I still haven't looked at baseball. My boxes are all closed up. Like I'm missing on sales, which I didn't really care about anyway. I mean, in all honesty, I'm going to make way more money on what I bought than the couple $100 that I sold. Like if I leave this table now to go set up my boxes, and maybe I make a $10 bill or a $20 bill, I'm missing out on a couple hundred probably at these boxes. So one of my regulars, Terry, came by and he's like, hey, do you mind if I'm like, yes, please open up all the boxes. If you're so inclined, help me out. So I knew he was going to be up there. So I'm like, I got to the point where it's like, okay, I'm going to go through these boxes, and if I don't find a card that I need or want, I'm going to go on to baseball. But every stack I pull, it's like, here's 5 Jordans for $1 each that I can move for 10. I'm like, so finally I just set a pile down. I'm like, okay, now I got to go to baseball. So I grabbed a baseball, and so I ended up checking out, and then he's got a showcase, and he had a Kobe rookie in an 8 at a really good price, and then he had a Caitlin Clark rookie at a really good price, and I think a 9. So I bought those. So I had a nice buy there, and I went back to his table and spent another decent amount later in the day. I think later in the day is when I went back and really looked through baseball and picked out mostly baseball the second time around, which was a good strategy because the baseball I was looking for out of his stuff are cards that most people aren't gonna buy. And in some of them the margins would be slim, and they're not like, some of them are faster sellers than others. But I can still make money on those, even in a buy it now setting. Even more money though in a eBay Live setting. So I think that was, and then so I went back to Craig's table and started digging through like later in the show. And he's like, hey, so I was looking through what you've been pulling out. And he's like, I might have a deal you might be interested in, but it's a little more money than what you typically spend. I'm like, oh, okay, tell me more. And I said, my strategy has changed. Like I'm spending a lot more at card shows than what I used to because I'm going through a lot more inventory and sales are up. So, so what do you got? So he had a 4-row box of WNBA Prism, which has just become super, super popular. And a lot of people are like, Caitlin Clark. I'm like, okay. So initially, and I saw the price and I'm like, I just don't know. Like, I don't know the WNBA market. I know Cameron Brink. Like, I'm pulling Cameron Brink and Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark out of your boxes. I know I can cherry pick and make money on these in a 4-row bulk. Yeah, there were 2 rows of color, 2 rows of base. And it's like, there's a Cameron Brink silver rookie in there, and there's some other like color of decent. It's like, all right, I know I could do really well on some of these cards, but like, man, as a whole, I don't know. Credit to Craig, man. He sold me. He put on a good sales pitch and got me thinking. And so the wheel started turning, and I started thinking, I'm like, I could do a WNBA night. I don't like doing theme nights, but I think with what's in there, and he also threw in like, I think he threw in like almost $200 worth of like good cards. That I'm like, I think I can do that. I'll do a WNBA night. He's like, I don't want to watch. I don't want to see how much money you make on this. I'm like, you never know. You never know. So it probably won't be this week, but maybe after the Madison Card Show, I'll do a WNBA night. I want to get it set up well in advance so I can properly promote it. Of course, I said that with the 74 set break that I never did, which all of a sudden vintage 70s took a turn for me. And now all of a sudden it's like the modern stuff's not moving, and I'm getting rid of some of this vintage bulk that I have. And I'm like, okay, are you going to do any modern? Well, if people aren't bidding on it, no. People are bidding on vintage. I'm going to sell vintage right now. So I did that deal and we came back at the end of the show. I'm like, okay, do that box, all these cards. And Craig's like, I'll throw these in for you at no cost. I'm like, thank you. And then the very last deal of the day was the 10 or 15 slabs I bought from Alan. I had a walk up. I had a guy say, are you buying? And I'm like, well, what do you got? And he had a stack of, I think, 27 cards, mostly like LeBron. I think there were some Lucas. There were some color in there of those players. And he's like, I just want to get rid of them. I'm like, okay. I'm like, what do you want for them? He's like, I don't know. Make me an offer. You know how I hate that. So I'm just like, I'll give you $1 a card. Because I know I can make at least $1 a card, and I'll make more on some of the color. It's going to be a slim margin overall, but I'll make a little bit of money. He gets $27. So I think that was the other deal. Oh, and then I did pick up my PSA autograph returns. I think I mentioned about this before, from 5 Star, which is a nice little segue into our next story. My autographs came back from PSA DNA. The Drew Brees rookie autograph was authentic, according to PSA DNA. The David Robinson, also authentic. The Karl Malone and the 2 Deion Sanders were not slabbed. They were questionable authenticity. So speaking of 5-star, so this gets us to our last story, my last story of the day. We were alerted there was a thief in Oak Creek last week, and there's thieves at every freaking card show, and it pisses me off. I'm so sick and tired of it. I know it happens, and it's just something you have to deal with. But God damn it, like the shit, we need to start making examples out of these guys, and it's really just annoys the shit out of me and everybody else. And like stealing is just my, like, fucking get a job. If you have a job, make more money, get a better job, get a second job. If you feel the need to steal fucking sports cards and Pokemon cards, get a fucking life, first of all. And that's just not a hobby thing. That's just, you're a shitty person. Like, that's just not within the hobby. There are shitty people that steal anything and everything. Some do it for fun. Some do it because they're jealous. Some do it just because they're fucking shithead humans. But it really sucks. And it sucks the life out of some of these shows at times. And we have it in Madison. We have it in Oak Creek. We have it in Janesville and Rockford, the National, Dallas, Chicago, everywhere. There's thieves everywhere. It's just annoying as fuck. So last week there was a thief in Oak Creek. One of our dealers had a picture of this thief from last week in Oak Creek. He showed up in Janesville. He's at the 5-star table right next to me. Mike, one of the promoters, standing, he's like, shows me the picture. He's like, that guy right there, keep an eye on him. He got caught stealing in Oak Creek last week. I'm like, all right. So we're kind of standing there watching him. And I know what Rich is saying. Free admission is not going to keep thieves out, or charging admission is not going to keep thieves out. So we're keeping an eye on him. I think I had a customer. Mike walked away. John, the other promoter, I'm talking to John, and because I remember specifically when all this went down. I agree with Max. Bracelets from the police department will help a little bit as well. So John and I are talking, and I remember Matt from 5-star coming over and saying, "Hey, is this dealer here set up? I've got his returns." And so he goes and goes off in there. And all of a sudden, I don't know, distraction. Matt comes back in, and he's like, "Where'd that guy go?" And he's like, "Where'd that guy go? He's got $700 worth of cards. Where'd that guy go?" So his kids were manning. He didn't leave the table unattended. He had his 2 kids were watching the table. So I just want to make that clear. So, but I think the thief saw the opportunity where, well, the kids are not paying attention, or they're dealing with customers. I think one was not paying attention. One was dealing with a customer, whatever. Maybe they were both dealing with customers. I don't know. Anyway, he saw an opportunity and took it. And so knew who it was, obviously. We go in, we're in the room looking, don't see him. All right. So I come back, I'm at my table, and maybe 10 or 15 minutes go by. There that motherfucker is. He's walking around. So I think he had gone to his car, probably to dump off the shit he stole, to come back in for more. So I see him coming around the corner. I'm like, "Hey, Mike, is this our guy?" So walks back, and I think he actually went all the way back to Max's table. And Mike, I think Mike grabbed him. I don't know, but tapped him on the shoulder. He's like, "You got to come up here." Took him up to Matt's table. Of course, he denies it. I'm actually talking with one of my former dealers, and he used to set up at all the shows around here, and he kind of retired from card shows. So we're catching up. We're talking. And I see this playing out of the corner of my eye. And I see this shithead. And I see he's getting like really, like his eyes, like you can tell he's Like he's thinking about, he wants to run. Like I can see the shiftiness in his eyes. Like he's like looking all around. Like he's going to try to bolt. He's not a very fit guy. Pretty heavy set Oompa Loompa guy. He ain't going to get very far. So all of a sudden he slips. He's wearing a backpack. He slips his backpack off and just takes off. And he Oompa Loompa. And I'm like, I look at John. I'm like, did that just, like, my first thought is, did that just happen? Is he really trying to run? Like, A, you just admitted your guilt. Like, why? An innocent person doesn't run. All right. So I kind of just like, I'm like, holy shit. Holy shit. This guy is trying to run. And then all of a sudden, this is what I alluded to at the beginning of the show. All of those thoughts go racing through your head. I'm fucking sick of this shit. I want this shit to stop. We need to make an example out of these goddamn thieves. So I jumped over there was a chair next to me. I jumped over the chair and I took out the front and gave chase. So there's the parking lot in Janesville. So, and he had a pretty big head start because I'm like, I can't believe this guy's doing. I'm pissed now. I'm gonna go chase. So he goes off, and there's like a grassy field between the hotel and like a service road, and then there's a Batteries Plus store, and then there's another road, and then there's a truck stop with a Wendy's. So I get to the grassy and I walk. It's kind of high. I'm like, all right. And then all of a sudden it dawned on me, what the hell am I going to do if I catch up to him? Which wouldn't have taken me very long at all. Not that I'm fast. And that's not, this is nothing on me being a fast guy. He was not a fast guy. But it dawned on me, what the hell am I going to do if I catch up to him? Make a citizen's arrest? Am I going to fight the guy? Like, what the hell am I going to do? But I'm going to keep an eye on him, and I'm not going to let him get away. We're going to call the cops, and we'll let the authorities, the proper authorities, take care of this. So I just stand there and I keep an eye on him because I'm just going to watch him. I'm going to follow this guy's ass until the police arrive. So he's about to so he gets into the parking lot of the Batteries Plus and slows down because he was probably winded a block ago. And so he kind of you know how after you've been running, you just kind of want to just shake it off and regain your composure. He kind of does that. And he's about ready to walk in the Batteries Plus, and he turns around and he sees me just standing there in the field, in the grass field, and turns around and starts fast walking around the corner as fast as he can be, which wasn't fast. So I go back around, and I think Mike and John were both out there, and some other guy was out there with us. And so we watched. I'm like, he went around Batteries Plus, but I don't know where he went from there. But he's my thought was, because I can see both sides, he hasn't come out. So he's likely just catching his breath on the wall at Batteries Plus. So all of a sudden he pops out and he's heading into Wendy's. You can't make this up. So by this point, cops are called. We're hanging out in the parking lot, expecting him because his car is in the parking. His car is in the card show parking lot, so he can't stay in Wendy's forever. And so we're kind of hanging out back by the parking lot. We don't know which car he's in, but we know where his car is located. So Mike drives over there to check, and he goes in, and he's asking, they're like, yeah, that guy came in, but he left. It's like, fuck, we lost his we lost contact with him. But again, so we're watching this side. So one of the cops, there's two, they actually had two cops out. They had two cops out for this. And one cop went over to the Wendy's. Another cop came to the hotel. So I came out. I'm talking to the cop and the manager of the hotel. And all of a sudden, John, who's keeping an eye on the parking lot, says, here he is, he's coming back. So he came, we were watching one direction, but you couldn't really watch the other direction. He had came around the other direction, which is like where the highway is, and came around, which I didn't even know there was access around that side of the hotel, which I guess there probably would be at a hotel. But anyway, so all of a sudden he's darting for his car. So I told the cop, I'm like, here he is. He's trying to get away. He's getting into his car. So the cop pulls up. We get over there. Here's the guy. The cop pulls up and kind of like blocks him in, does the angle park so he can't get around, does the angle park. The guy tries to go around. The cop gets out and he's like, stop. He tries to go the other way and the cop goes, stop. He backs up into the parking spot because he wants to go to the right. This motherfucker's trying to run for the cops. So he backs up into this parking spot because he wants to go make a right, and he starts pulling forward. The cop jumps in, puts his hands on the hood. He goes, you got to stop. And so he finally knew the jig was up. So he gets out. This motherfucker gets out. I'm like, his name's Travis. I won't divulge his last name, but his name's Travis. It's a common last name. So I don't know the details from there. Like once the cops were involved, I went back and did my thing. Fortunately, there was a camera right above where it happened. So they went and reviewed the surveillance footage. The dealer said, Matt said, he's like, I just want my stuff back. He's like, I won't press charges if you give me my stuff back. I kind of wish he would press charges. Like I understand it's a pain in the ass to go through all this, but fuck, I want to start putting these guys, press charges. Like, I'm sick and tired of this shit. So he didn't. Guess what? He didn't take anything. Well, guess what? He had some of the stuff. He had the stuff. He probably took more shit. So that's the story. And it's fucking bullshit. So and I was telling somebody was at my table, was asking about it, and said, does this happen very much? And I'm like, unfortunately, yeah, it happens at every single show. And it doesn't matter how small the show, how big a show. It happens at the National. It happens in Dallas. It happens in Madison. It happens in Oak Creek. It happens in Rockford. It happens in your local VFW hall. And it's annoying. And it's not going to stop. I mean, that's the thing. I mean, you try to prevent it as much as you can. Cameras, security, being looking out for your other dealers, which we were doing. We kept a close eye, but you can't keep a close eye on a person for the entire length of the show. Like, it's just not feasible. You can do your best, and sometimes your best is not good enough. And that's when these thieves take opportunity. They see a window of opportunity and they take it. They're dumb fucks, but they're smart enough to know when an opportunity opens itself up, which sucks. So it'll keep happening. But if we can at least limit as much as we can, and pursue these guys and make sure they don't get away. And maybe this whole experience for this motherfucker, Travis, makes him pause and stop doing this shit. Probably not. He looks like a douchebag. He'll probably keep doing it. He'll probably just lay low for a little bit. Probably won't come back to Janesville. I hope he shows up in Madison. I really hope he does. So I'm tired of it. I think we all are. Charlie says, I hate it when I have to spend time lingering around like a Pinkerton detective at our show because someone with sticky fingers comes in. Yeah, and it's a real giant pain in the ass. And this is, until people prosecute, they will keep doing it. Absolutely. Absolutely. Gem City says, I'm imagining the cop from Home Alone for some reason. No, he was the cop. I don't know who the other. I think there ended up being like three cops total. At the end of it, the cop that I was talking with that had to put his hands on the car. Like, I wouldn't fuck with that cop. Like, he's the one in the picture that I put on Twitter. Like, I wouldn't want to fuck with him. That dude says if the guy is shady, blast his picture out. Oh, it's on Twitter. I put it in some Facebook groups, but it was waiting. I put it on Sports Card Nonsense. I put the same post I put up on Twitter. I put it on the Wisconsin Pokemon TCG group, and it just says waiting for admin approval. So I don't know I don't think either of them have approved it. So, but I put it on the Facebook groups. Charlie says, I hate it when I have to linger around tables like a Pinkerton. Oh, yeah. Well, we talked about that. Fat guy goes into Wendy's. Make your own jokes. Holmes in the house. Come for the card talk and get an episode of Starsky and Hutch. Yeah. Gem City says, oh, name that thief. Johnson, Turner, Brewer. Travis should be banned from all card shows. Hell yeah. He ain't coming into any of my shows. And I don't give a fuck if I have free admission at my shows. He is banned. I don't care if I can legally do that or not. He's fucking banned. Cooter says, when I was in my 20s, I confronted a guy who knocked over my girlfriend running out the door of our local mall. The next thing, I am fighting two guys, one with a knife, so always be careful. And that's what I thought, like, that stuff doesn't, like, when you unwind it and when you're in a, but when you spring to action, like, you weren't thinking, like, when your girlfriend got knocked over, like, you take action. You don't think of one guy having a knife. Like, that's not even a thought. Like, you're just like, you don't disrespect her. And you don't think of that in the moment. After the moment, like, when I was able to, regain my composure, I'm like, what am I doing? Like, if I catch up to him, which would have been pretty quickly, am I going to tackle him? and then he's going to try to get assault and battery charges on me. It's like, so then all of a sudden it's like, okay, well, what if he has, a GUN, or what if he has a knife, or what if he get this or that? Then when you regain your composure, it's like, oh, maybe I shouldn't have, over some poke that weren't even mine, but I'm sick of it. John says, most of you people love the value of your cards instead of the enjoyment of collecting. This is what you get. But it happens in everything. It's not just baseball cards. It's CDs. Oh, if they make those anymore. I guess you can't steal digital music, but back in the day, people always stole CDs. I mean, you people in the music industry, John Keating, love your music instead of the enjoyment, or love the value of your collections instead of the enjoyment of listening to the music. People are lifting CDs from Sam Goody. You buy boxes hoping for the big hit. Greedy fuckers. Says the guy buying Facebook Marketplace collections looking for the big hits. Donald says, I know Mark and I was told about a person at the Macomb Card Show. They're everywhere. They're everywhere. Cooter says, a longtime vintage collector known by many was busted last year in OKC. No, it wasn't me. I sat next to him at many shows going through cards. He used his notebook to transfer cards to his backpack. What a slimy shit. Anthony Rendon walks without ramifications. Mark says, this has to stop. I've had some stuff swiped from my tables over the years. Luckily, it wasn't a bigger card. Yeah, and it's just, And a lot of it is the onus is on dealers. And I'll walk through and I'll see there was a table yesterday and there's slabs right on the edge of the table. And it's like, what are you guys doing? Now, maybe they're $10, $20, $30 slabs, but you're probably going to be pissed off if somebody steals it. And it's ripe for the picking. And I see this all the time. Guys get a $200 card stolen. Was it in your showcase? No, it was in a box. Why do you have a $200 card? If you're like, and maybe a $200 card is a bargain box card for some dealers, and it is. But when you say it's a $200 card that got stolen, then why is it in a box? If you're going to be that upset about a $200 card getting stolen, don't put it in a box at the edge of your table. It's like, put cameras up. Cameras are cheap. You can buy a camera at Best Buy for like $20. Plug it into your computer. Or shit, you can buy for a little bit more. You can get like a security cam that is an app on your phone. And there you go. Like, if it becomes a problem, invest. Make the small investment in a camera. Even if you spend $100 on a camera, what does it prevent? Now, is it going to prevent theft? No, but it's a deterrent. And it's a small price to pay. If you're getting $1,000, $700 in cards getting stolen, and it happens multiple times, at least there's camera footage, and you can put that out there. And it's a preventative measure. If somebody's looking, they're like, I'm going to take this, but they see a camera, they're probably going to think twice. They look at that camera and they're like, oh shit, I'll have to go to the next table. Max says, here are the empathy comments for a thief. Jesus. Mark says, the Miami courtside show had metal detectors at the entrance and cops on the way out, and security roaming the show felt really secure. Max says, people needing to sell their CDs and concert tickets for thousands. Rich. I love that music got ripped off. I had to, but cassettes, albums, CDs. Just love the music. Should be enough. John says, and I have never bought collections seeking the big hits. Just the grails. Just the grails. Gem City says, I invite all the police officers to the show I can. Max says, Peterson? Yep. Ding, ding, ding. I don't know the correct spelling, but it's one of those, or close enough to it. That dude from Duryea says, so happy music is digital and I don't need 4 CD books in my back seat. So I overvalued my CD collection because I'm a dope, John Keating. And I was at Stars and Stripes, if anybody's familiar with late 90s, early 2000s club scene in Davenport, Iowa. And Stars and Stripes, we were there one night. It was like just a couple nights before Christmas. And I had a Dodge Avenger, and I had one of those, I don't know if it was Bose. They made, well, I think all the companies made, maybe it was Pioneer. They made the removable face plates, and it had the like graphics. I mean, it was super cool in 2000. It looks like freaking Pong today, I'm sure. But I had that, and I had like 2 or 3 giant CD albums, because I pissed away all my money on CDs back in high school. My best friend Scott, his dad's radar detector was in there. Our winter coats, because it's like December 23rd, and they busted the glass, ripped the CD player out of the console, took all my CDs, took our coats, took the radar detector. It was a cold drive home, because it's about a 40-minute drive back to Anawan. And all of my overvalued CDs were stolen. Max says, most cards that are stolen are not realized until after the show. And that's a good point. Like, usually it's after the show, like, where'd this go? Where'd this go? And that sucks. Charlie says, you don't even need a working camera as a deterrent. There you go. Finally, a use for that 2012 Sony Palm Quarter. Yeah. I mean, sometimes I had and it's funny, and I realized at one of the very first Madison Card Shows, and I set up, and it was probably the first one. I was going to do a Hobby Evolution live from the Madison Card Show. I think it was the very first show. And so I had my webcam out on the table, and wasn't on. And, I had my boxes and everything. And I happened to see probably a potential thief looked over at the camera, and like, you could tell was like a little nervous, like looked over at the camera, and I'm like, oh, I see what's going on here. So I think there's definitely a deterrent to it. That dude says, what color was the Avenger? It was black. Man, it was such a cool car. It was a lemon, man. I think I put more money in repairs than what I paid for the car. It was a fucking lemon, but it was it was sleek. It was black, had nice wheels. It had like semi-tinted windows. It was a super sleek car. Those were awesome. I think mine was It was a mid-90s. I don't know if it was 90. It might have been 96 because I bought it. I think I bought it in 2000. And it was a few years old when I bought it. It might have been a 96 because I think 95, 96 had the same body style. Maybe 97, 98, they changed the body style. So I think it was the same body style as the, I wonder if I find a picture. Man, it was such an awesome car. Let's look up 1995 Dodge Avenger. Black. I bet it was a 95. Because this is exactly what it looked like. If I can find oh yeah, 96 almost looks like a Buick. 97. Mine kind of looks like a 97. I don't know. I think the 95, this picture, you can't really. That picture's small. So let's share the screen. So this is what it looked like, this one here on the right-hand side of the screen. So mine looked like really similar to that car on the right. It was an awesome car. And when it worked, man. And when you're like working at the grocery store and in college, I mean, those $1,000 bills from the dealership are like just a kick in the ass. Max says there are other uses for the Palm Quarter. A little side business. Mark says, I've been using a slab case with a RFID tag in it that goes off if far away for cards over 10K. There you go. I certainly don't have any cards over 10K. Mine would be like any cards over 100. My $100 and up cards get the RFID tag. Bradley says, I cringe at all the dealers that don't have display cases for their high-end cards, almost asking for trouble. It is asking for trouble. It's just like, what are you guys doing? Like, and it's not, theft is not going to stop. Like it's always going to happen. It's happened since the very first card show in the 1970s. And you know, there's ebbs and flows of it throughout the years in the hobby, because right now it's high in demand, high value, easy marks. And, you know, right now it's prime picking for these thieves. And I absolutely cringe. Cooter says they have done studies that just putting a picture of a pair of eyes on a break room honor box will decrease losses. Rich says the guy that had the $2 million worth of cards stolen from him at the DCS had a bit of responsibility in that. Absolutely. 100%. Mark says, here's the issue. A lot of dealers rent cases because of travels, and a lot of those cases don't have locks. Rich says he left the table to his kids during pack out and went wandering. And that's, you know what, I thought about that as I'm out in the parking lot talking to John, and I've got, you know, if somebody takes off with one of my 4-row boxes, that's one less 4-row box I have to take home. Yeah, it sucks that somebody would walk away with one, but I've got plenty more where that came from. But it's like, shit, I've just spent this amount of money on cards. I do care if those get, because that's like stealing cash off my table. And my table's unattended, and I'm just hoping that, you know, the people at my table, and I knew some of the people, so like usually I have regulars at my table all day, like sitting and digging. And I'm pretty confident if somebody walked around and took something, they would say something. But like, you can't just rely on that. It's like, I better go back in. And I thought briefly, like, if I'm going to be wandering and I've got new inventory that I bought, like just sitting at my table, and I'm not at my table half the time, I should probably at least put it in my locked car and not just right here saying, take me, take me. Rich says the two most dangerous times at a show are load in and load out. Yeah. And, you know, the funny thing is yesterday, I'm with the early birds, and, I think every single early bird that I was chatting with yesterday asked me, are you going to let in early birds at the show next weekend in the Madison Card Show on Saturday? And I'm like, no. And that's the thing. I mean, it's a much larger room. It's easier to block it off. Now, again, is it foolproof? No. But no early birds. One guy mentioned, he's like, you should do VIP for an hour early entrance, which I've always thought that's a dumb idea. People aren't going to pay to come in early. He said, yes, people will. There was a show that did that. The local show, probably similar, 150, 200 tables. And they paid like $25 to get in an hour early. So I got to thinking, and then I talked to somebody else and said another show did this recently. And the problem was, an hour before the show, say the show starts at 9 or 10, and you open it up at 8 or 9 for early birds, there's a lot of late comers to dealers some dealers are a little slower in the morning than others. It's funny because, and this is just human behavior. Morning people or night people, I'll have dealers that, like my dealer load in is 7 a.m. and I'll have guys show up at 6. It's like, come on. Now, I'd rather have guys show up at 6 than 9 when the show's already started or just about to start. So you have those guys that I'm running late. I overslept. I'll be there at 10. It's like, dude, that's an hour into the show. You're probably going to lose out on most of your sales if you show up an hour after show starts. Let's see. Max says the setup is conducive to being able to do that. The Sheraton would be impossible. Oh, absolutely. Like admission is impossible at the Sheraton. VI, like early entrance, like that's why at the Sheraton you just come on in whenever you want, like, because I can't stop it. So early birds are welcome in Madison at the Sheraton. Now at the Alliant, it's a different story. We're also charging admission. Part of that admission goes to pay your parking. By the way, future shows, parking, there will be a charge because there's other events going on and we can't divide it up. So admission will be less, but you're going to have to pay for parking if you choose to park in the Alliant parking lot. You don't have to. You can walk. You can park in another parking spot at your own risk. Whether you can get towed or not, I don't know, but take your own risks at parking somewhere else and walking over. But you don't have to. You can carpool, do whatever you want. But there will I think it'll be the August show. I think August and October there will definitely be a parking fee. December is up in the air. I kind of want to see how this one plays out, and it may just be too much of a pain in the ass for me, and I may lose money on it. So we'll see how June goes, and then I'll make a decision on December. But the decision's already made for August and October. Holmes says, getting a movie plot with Bo starring as a John Wick character after someone takes a card. Mark says, VIP is real. The issue is a lot of sellers aren't set up. And that's exactly what somebody else told me. It's like, that's a good point. And, if you pay $25 for early entrance and only half the room is set up, that's a problem. So that is an issue. Max says people will pay the VIP, but I just think it's tacky. No show around here is big enough to warrant that. All I see is a money grab. I agree. But here's the thing though. I'm running a business. Everything is a money grab. That's just when you run a business, everything is a money grab. And here's the thing about this is all comes down to supply and demand. When you have more people willing to pay more money for tables, at some point you've got to say, well, am I okay making this margin when there's demand for a lot higher margin? And at some point, there's a tipping point. And you got to find that out. But I would not be a good businessman if I didn't entertain the option. If there are people saying I would pay you $25 to get into the show early, I have to entertain that. I would be stupid not to. I don't think it's tacky at all. I always thought there's just no need for it. I didn't think people would pay. But even if you get 20 people to show up an hour early and pay $25, well, if they're willing to pay, I'll take their money. I got a guy paying $150 for a table. He shows up for 2 hours and then I sell it to somebody else. Like, I'm dumb not to. Take the money when you can. I'm running a business, not a charity. Rich says, at my last synagogue show on Monday, we had a 9:30 a.m. setup because I had a vendor turnover planned between Sunday and Monday. Mark says, people think there is no value when dealers are not set up. This is notorious in West Palm. They open for VIP and 80% are not set up. Rich says, for relaxing purposes, I got there at 9 a.m. and there were 3 people already waiting to load in. Bradley says, many dealers show up at the show start time. And I tell people, I'm like, show starts at 9, setup begins as early as 7. I would suggest you get here earlier than later because, especially at the Sheraton, people are walking the floor at 7:30. People are spending money at 7:30. And if you don't show up until 9, you're missing out on an hour and a half of potential sales. So use your own discretion on that. Max says VIP hour should be no earlier than 9. Then you got to push show start to 10. And I think that's probably, so at the Alliant, we could do this. The show is 9 to 5 right now, 9 to 5. If I were down the road to change, do an hour early, we'd probably push showtime to 10 a.m. and then 9 a.m. would be VIP hour. It's definitely something I'm going to entertain. I'm certainly not going to do it for June, and it probably wouldn't happen for August either. But these winter shows, I mean, that's when you have the most people. I think that could be something if people are willing to pay. So it's definitely something I'll entertain. It's worth it even if 10 people do it. It's worth it, in my opinion. If 10 people do it, $25, 10, that's $250. Worth it to me. Rich says DCS is legendary for that now with the all access plan. To be honest, the show I run for the synagogue costs almost nothing to run. So I have 1 to 2 people wanting to come in early and I usually know them. So it's no big deal. Yeah, I have dozens of people that come in early at the Sheraton and I have no issues. I know there's a few dealers that don't like it. Sometimes I get annoyed when people want to start digging through my boxes early. It's because sometimes I get slowed down. Yesterday, I didn't care. Yesterday, it was like, just go through the box. Like, here you go. Like, I didn't. In most times I set up at a show, like I'm set up, I wouldn't say my main objective is to make sales, but I mean, it's up there. Sometimes more than others. Sometimes it's more, the onus is more on buying than it is on selling. And sometimes the onus is more on selling, like, oh, I've got a bunch of new quarter boxes. Like I want to make a point of, I want everything in the right order and I want to get this set up. Yesterday, I didn't give a shit. Yesterday, I just put the boxes on the table. I did try to put them by sport, baseball, basketball, football. But it was like 9:30 before I even started putting the boxes out. I mean, I had like 3 people at my table, helping themselves, which I told them to. Cooter says, isn't charging comps for cards a money grab? You could sell for less. 100%. 100%. Max says, just need enough value behind a VIP charge. The Alliant probably has enough now to warrant it. I mean, the thing is, it doesn't even need value. The value is if people are willing to pay. And you just put that out there. All right, VIPs get in an hour early. And if 2 people show up at 9 a.m. and pay $25, okay, maybe it's not worth it. But if 20 people show up, even if 10 people showed up, I think it's worth it. As a dealer, I want people in as soon as possible. Just my 2 cents. Max says, and for the record, I have 0 issue with you doing what you want with your show. I think you know that, but don't need the white knights. Mark says all the repackers will pay VIP. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of dudes that'll pay $25. Like, it's funny. the value of $1 is different to every single person. And 5 years ago, well, 5 years ago, 5 years ago, I would not have gone to a card show at the Alliant Energy Center and paid $5. I'm like, I'm not paying $5 to go to a card show. There was no value in it for me because I'm probably spending less than $100. I wasn't really, I mean, I guess in 2020, I was doing a lot of flipping, starting to do it more. But up until 20, when was it? 20, I set up at, the only time I set up at the previous show that was in Madison was in like a month before the world shut down. And it was an awful day. I don't even think I made my table, and tables were like $35. And by the way, $35 for a table where there was about 15 tables in the room and 100 people, if you were lucky, that walked through the door. So if you're paying $60 or $80 for a $150 to a $250 table show with well over 1,000 people in attendance, you're getting a good deal. People complain about table prices. People complain about it, $5. But I get it. Like, I get it. And people will complain. And I try, the people that I hear complaining about the admission, I'm keeping a mental note because I know most of them I'll see at the show. I know most of them will show up. They just want to complain. Everybody wants to complain. Gas goes up a dime. People are complaining. Well, that gas station's $3.24. It's only $3.14 across the street. $1. You fill your tank up for $1.20 more across the street. People just like to complain about money. Where are we at? Bradley says, don't the dealers set up and do a quick run of show floor for early deals? Some do, some don't. Wouldn't VIP entry affect this? I don't set up, so I don't know what happens before a show starts. No. I mean, at a smaller show, and I'm saying a smaller show, like even 250 tables would be a small show. I don't think it would. Dealers are still going to walk around and do deals. It's not like there's going to be 1,000 people walking in the door for VIP access, or even probably at a 250 table show, probably not even 100. So it's going to be, I'd say 20 people. So most dealers, I don't think most dealers would still be walking the show floor doing their deals. It wouldn't have much of an effect. AA Cards, what's going on? He says, happy Father's Day to all the dads out there. Rich says, some people do door prizes, and I once told a promoter, no longer living, who actually did early VIP admission for his shows. Oh, by the way, speaking of that, so we're doing something a little different. We've teamed up with Bonsai Cards and Collectibles. Speaking of admission, you get your money back, essentially, thanks to our partnership with Bonsai Cards and Collectibles in DeForest. So with your paid admission, you receive a $5 off coupon. You pay $5 to get into the Madison Card Show next Saturday. You receive a $5 coupon to use at Bonsai Cards and Collectibles. Now, the caveat is you have to use it next weekend, either Saturday or Sunday. So they do trade nights. Use your $5 after the show Saturday, go to Bonsai for their trade night, and use your $5 off. And guess what? Your admission to the Madison Card Show is free. So we've teamed up with Bonsai to do that. We'll be giving out those $5 off coupons to paid attendees at the show next Saturday. Rich says, one of the few things he listened to me was when I advised him to do the door prize during the first hour to give a real reason for those who paid extra to come in early. That's a good idea. I like that. Max says, Brad, of all the shows only one doesn't allow people on the show floor until it starts. I'm trying to think. I know Kane County and DuPage, because they can get away with it. And those, I think, are paid admission because the venue rental's a lot higher there. Those shows, there's no early birds, which I like because I don't have competition in the bargain boxes. So I get like an hour and a half to beat my competition. Those are the only shows. Oak Creek tries to prevent early birds, but it doesn't always work. And it's really cut, that show's really cut up into multiple rooms, so it's kind of hard to really police it. But I know Tony tries. Rich says that one clicked with him. He actually got more people to spend the extra money that way. Max says, and every show has buyers in there before at least half the vendors. Oh, yeah. Like yesterday, shit, there was, I mean, how many early birds were digging through boxes? All the early birds were in there digging through the bargain boxes with me. Johnny M says, good morning. When I did shows in the 80s, my goal was to sell my entire table to another dealer and then go fishing for the day. Hey, whatever works. Max says, as a dealer, I just don't want to sit there for an hour and just have a couple buyers for an hour. I get it. I get that. So what I would advise is tell your regulars to pay the $25 early entrance so you can get those deals in. And then hope you get new customers once the show opens at regular time. Rich says, give anyone who donates blood some spending money at the show. Max says, and I don't want to be bothered setting up. Bradley says, you were right. You might have collectors bitch about paying for admission and parking at shows. Others are willing to pay VIP admission. Yeah, I mean, it's just everybody values things differently. And it's like, and some people are just going to bitch. And it doesn't matter what it is. They're going to bitch that it's too hot in the room. They're going to bitch that it's too crowded. They're going to bitch that there's not enough parking. So now we've got a giant parking lot. Parking's not going to be an issue. There's plenty of parking. You got to pay for it. Well, you don't have to pay for it this time, but you're going to pay for it in the admission price. And then, well, you got to pay $5 to get in. Well, it's a 250 table show. I would think that warrants an admission fee. And I would be charging admission at the Sheraton if I could. The way it's set up, I can't. It's impossible. There's multiple entrances. It's a hotel, so you can't just be at the front doors taking admission because half the people are, staying at the hotel. Maybe probably less than half that are coming to the show. But anyway, I would absolutely be charging admission. It'd probably be $2 or $3 if I could at the Sheraton. I can't. So anyway, we're almost 2 hours in. What a show. So, speaking of shows, tonight, a lot of the inventory I bought yesterday will be live on eBay tonight. eBay Live, 7 p.m. Central. It's a slabathon, slabapalooza, slab mania, slabtastic, all those puns we can use. I'm going to have a bunch of slabs. I think I'm sitting on about 100 slabs. I don't know if we'll get through them all tonight. I'm going to mix in some of the other stuff. We're going to take requests. So there's going to be a lot of stuff. It's Sunday singles on eBay. So there's a lot of good auctions throughout the day on eBay Live. So check it out. Sunday singles. And make sure to join me at 7 p.m. Central tonight. On your way out, hit the like button. Subscribe to the channel if you're not already. Visit my eBay store in the meantime, 99centcards.com. If you did place orders with my eBay live streams over the last few days, I will be hunkering down to ship those out today as I prepare for tonight's live stream. All right, have a great day, and I'll see you tonight, 7 p.m. on eBay Live.